I think I'm like her in the sense that we don't indulge in the gossip. We don't listen to what people say about us. You just have to turn a blind eye to it. People are going to talk, and you can't be hurt by that. You can't listen to that. And she's really striving. These days, I live my whole life. It's easier to fall into that, like talking about someone else and when you stick up for someone, you're going out on a limb when a whole group is making fun of someone. But I've really tried to have some honor in my life.
Well, like there could be a difference.
Everybody, besties, grab your glass of wine because Blake Lively has subpoenaed 107 content creators. 107 creators, according to Ellen Garofalo in court today, discussing Blake Lively attempting to subpoena Brian Friedman's law firm. And the judge was entertaining this for what reason, I really don't know. But he was trying to argue with, Ellen, that part of the reason she's going to Friedman's law firm is because, she's claiming, Blake, that Friedman defamed her. And the judge is all, how can she prove her claims of an untraceable smear campaign without discovery? Are you kidding me, Judge? Are you serious? And then apparently Ellen was all, hey, Judge, she has so much discovery here. She literally contacted 107 content creators. And then they brought up that some of the content creators have already filed motions to quash. And he seemed to suggest that these motions to quash are very well-founded. Because he's all, if these motions are well-founded, isn't it more appropriate to go to the horse's mouth, so to speak, Liner? So a lot of people in their motions to quash were saying she should get this directly from Liner and Friedman, and from Wayfair, right? And apparently Ellen was all, maybe it's untraceable, Judge, because it never happened. Because we weren't retained until December 21st, the day after she filed her CRD complaint. And he asked if there was any communications that were done in anticipation of litigation. And she said only one text messages on December 16th, nothing more. So apparently, if they were to go through this process and he were to approve her motion to compel, for the first 4 categories that are a part of this motion to compel, the answer would be that they have no documents, they have nothing to offer her, nothing. And we all know that Blake Lively doesn't like the word no or none. So here is what 1 through 4 was. Agreements effective at any point from July 1st through present, whether executed prior or subsequent to either date, including contracts, retainer agreements, and engagement letters between you and any content creator concerning this action that is spoken publicly regarding the same. So they would have no contracts or written agreements or engagement letters. Makes sense. Is this something that Blake and Ryan do? Request number 2 would be from July 1st, 2024 through present. All documents concerning or relating to any invoices for services rendered or third-party services or similar descriptions involving you and any content creator, where such invoice is concerning or relating to the consolidated actions. So again, it's suggesting that they paid for and orchestrated a smear campaign. So they say I have none of those. Documents concerning or relating to any payments between or involving you and any content creator where such payment is concerning or related to the consolidated action. For sake of clarity, it includes payments in which you're involved in at any point in the payment chain to any content creator. Again, 0, none. 4, documents sufficient to identify the names of the financial institutions and names of the account holder of any account numbers associated with all bank accounts you use to make or receive payments concerning this digital campaign. 0. So the crux of this case falls on the fact that they paid people to speak about Blake Lively and to disparage her. And they're saying, no, we don't have any of those documents. So the answer would be 0, none. And then for 5, 6, 7, and 8, it was digital online communications with digital online content creators, services concerning Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, and Wayfair defendants, the digital campaign or the film. To the extent responsive documents and or communications are in possession, custody, or in control of the Wayfair parties. So she wants the communications between him and the content creators. But if he's giving a statement to a content creator, that's not really a smear campaign. From July 1st, 2024 through the present, all documents and communications between you and any journalist, reporter, producer, editor, or any other representative of a newspaper, online news source, podcast, television network, or radio station. So again, they were only retained in December, so there was none before then. And if they're responding to a comment from the press, wouldn't that be any different than Blake's team responding to comments to the press? And the same thing for communications reflecting communications with any source that provided you information relating to the basis of the public statements, which partially they're arguing that some of those would come from the clients in this case, which are privileged. And then mobile phone billing records, which is crazy, of calls that you made and received with any source concerning information relating to or that form the basis for the statements regarding Lively. So really, she wants to know who is talking to Brian Friedman that's making him say these things, which is wild because if you think about it, he's allowed to advocate and defend his clients in public, and he's allowed to make statements in defense of them. And so really, she's just asking for the source, and the source is Justin Baldoni, and he can't give that to her. But that's really, they kind of got called out on that, and it sounds like they tried to change directions. So the judge is like, then why are you fighting about requests 1 through 4? She said, the liner firm did not pay content creators, but requests 5 to 8, we have significant issues. They are overbroad, sweep and attorney-client information. Their request is not limited. And then he says, they are not requesting privileged information. And she said, I suspect we'll be back in front of your honor again. Why shouldn't I order production of all non-privileged information? And her response was that the spike in negative publicity began in 2024. Her last possible complaint was in 2024. So the last time she ever complained to Wayfair about any misconduct on the set was 9 months before. And she said there is no proximity. It was 9 months later. So she's saying that there's no correlation between her speaking up about protected activities on the set to then 9 months later, there would be some sort of spike against her that's coordinated by Wayfair because of what she said in January. And she said it doesn't comply with California retaliation. I don't know anything about retaliation laws in California, but I don't know if there's a time limit on it. But I do know that there are aspects of the law in California that if it's further out, you have to prove correlation. And someone criticizing you or someone defending themselves against what you're saying about them isn't retaliation. And not everything that you say about someone is retaliation. And then George is like, well, that's, a great for a motion to dismiss or an eliminate, or she said, or a judgment on pleadings, meaning a summary judgment. And then it's asking for communications with the media that he has spoken to publicly, wanting content creators' communications. So she's claiming that Blake wants attorney-client privilege. She's claiming that she just wants to know the source, but the source is he spoke to the public, so there's nothing for them to give. And then that they have work product doctrine privilege, which is information that they use as a part of their case, but is not part of discovery. And then he's like, do you have retainer agreements between a lawyer and third parties? Is it privileged? And she's like, here they do not exist. They are subpoenaing liner law firm bank accounts. Okay, so they don't have agreements. They don't have anything. They didn't pay anyone. And then his argument is they pled 8 defamatory statements by Friedman, right? And he's claiming they're not looking for, Blake's team was like, we're not looking for attorney-client privilege stuff. And essentially because Garofalo said, we don't have retainers, we don't have relationships with content creators, we literally don't have anything to offer her in this regard. 1 through 4 became moot because they had nothing to give. And the judge agreed. The judge wasn't going to force them to say they had something that they didn't. It's almost like Blake's team just can't accept, or Blake can't accept when they say they don't have something. And there was a point in these texts, in these tweets that he made, that he says, Miss Lively's retaliation and defamation claims allege specific acts by Mr. Freeman and his firm. We allege the campaign was run by Wallace, the fixer from Street Relations close with Mr. Freeman. Jed Wallace was dismissed from this case. I don't know if you're aware of that. And when my attorneys spoke to Blake Lively's attorneys, her attorneys said that it wasn't Jed Wallace who orchestrated the smear campaign. Then they said it was everyone at Wayfair that was in charge of the online campaign. But now they're telling the judge something completely different, that it was Jed Wallace. But Jed Wallace isn't a party to this case. And another thing that I thought was interesting is they said, we are interested and requesting about the use of trolls and paid communications. We want to know the number of outlets who received these claims and were exposed to them. Ms. Lively has promised she would not be retaliated against. The retaliation clause of the 17-point agreement. Trolls and paid communications. What the hell is a paid communications? And the judge even told them that the public has an interest in this case simply because it's a public interest case. And you realize just how flimsy she's at right now. So she believes that Brian Friedman was selected by Wayfair. Her theory, her allegation now is that they hired Brian Friedman because of his clients, because he's represented Megyn Kelly and because he's represented Perez Hilton. And so he had his network of content creators that he can get them to talk crap about. That's like correlation doesn't mean causation, right? And now she wants to know about trolls and bots and paid communications. It's like she keeps changing the goalpost. Every time you think you've got the answer, it's like she changed it to something else. And how do you say that Jed Wallace is the orchestrator of the smear campaign and now he's not even part of this lawsuit? And the judge got a little bit snarky with him at one point, apparently saying that if you can't find something on the internet, how are they retaliatory? In terms of like if they were communicating with people and nothing was published about it, and even if it was, salacious, how is it defamatory if they never made it public? And they bring up the fact that they got a document in this case, a text change with Mr. Freeman introducing the Wayfair parties to his client, who then attacked Miss Lively and the New York Times online, which then was moved to, we subpoenaed Perez Hilton, who now claims the reporter's privilege, will litigate it and will come before the court at another time. And again, her theory is if his clients may be one of the reasons Wayfair chose him as a lawyer. And obviously, Friedman's firm pushed back and said it was innuendo. Allegations are not facts. There's litigation privilege here. Just because someone has an unfavorable opinion of her doesn't make it defamatory. Calling something she doesn't like defamatory doesn't make it defamatory. The truth about this entire case is Blake not wanting to understand and take public criticism. And today in court, the judge, in a way, sided with the Wayfair party saying, well, they don't have 1 through 4. Okay, Blake, you have to take that as a win. They don't have it. You won that. Even getting snarky, you won. And she's got 107 content creators. And yet they identified content creators when they gave them, which was interrogatory number 5. Melissa Nathan gave them that list. And there was very few on there. And so you're like, okay, this is interesting. Like 107 people that were never named by Wayfair, you went out and subpoenaed. I truly believe you need that protective order, Blake Lively, because I guess in the world of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, they draw conclusions that don't exist. They create parallels that aren't there. They create theories and conspiracies that don't exist. They sound extremely delusional and paranoid. And I start to wonder sometimes if one of them is so severely mentally ill and they don't have a simple person on this team, like the lawyers, that haven't suggested to her, listen, Blake, we don't have evidence. And subpoenaing 107 content creators isn't going to get you what you want. It's going to create a shitstorm, Blake. And if you do this, you're going to get more public backlash that you're going to create, Blake, because they gave us a list here, Blake. And 107 of those people aren't on this list, Blake. And it's no different than Ezra or Gottlieb running to the New York Times, running to People, running to Us Weekly, running to TMZ. So Blake's team can do it and they can respond, but Brian Friedman cannot. Everything he's doing is some sort of convoluted conspiracy. I think what angers me about this is that they call us conspiracy theorists, but they are the conspiracy theorists. They're the ones that are so paranoid. They're drawing conclusions. And all of this makes me believe that if you were to start going into Blake Lively's books, you might see payments to content creators or to people or to TMZ or to all these media outlets to give them good, favorable coverage, because giving gifts apparently is proof that, you're paying people to write good things about you. And we already know that Blake love bombs with gifts. She completely loves bombs her people with gifts. She lavishes them with all kinds of stuff. So if that's the case, Blake's just telling on herself. And at the very end, they sort of wrapped it up and said, we can't produce documents that don't exist. They have nothing to give. And Blake cannot accept the answer no. So what does she do? She subpoenas 107 content creators, almost in retaliation, because she thinks that Friedman and Wayfair and every party here is lying but her. In order to believe Blake that there's an untraceable campaign, and in order to believe that they're not going to comply with discovery and that they're willingly misleading the court and not giving them information or documents, you're suggesting that these people are committing contempt of court, perjury. But then she got really upset because, they insinuated that Blake might commit perjury if she were to go on record and on under oath. And there is an accusation that she did commit perjury when she went under oath with one of the, whether it was the CRD or was in Texas. There was questions about if what she said was true. She didn't like it when they pointed it out to her, but like she can go on a rampage and accuse them of crimes. It's, again, just more banana stuff. So basically, long story short, they have nothing to give her. He might rule in her favor to a degree and say, if you have something, you must give it. But if they don't have it, they can't give it. And at some point, she just has to accept that they don't have it. The true story here is that she retaliated against Wayfair and against the judge for basically getting rid of Jed Wallace, and because they couldn't prove a smear campaign. So what she do? She just retaliated and went after the entire internet and went crazy. 107 subpoenas. Can you even fathom how insane that is? Normal people don't subpoena people. 107. Blake Lively needs help, or Ryan Reynolds needs help. Someone needs to sit them down and tell them no and tell them to cut the cord. This is getting ridiculous. So what are your thoughts about this revelation? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give me this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.